The first week of summer 2026, and Meghan Markle is already assembling a crisis team, not after a scandal breaks, not in response to a disaster. Before she has even stepped foot back on British soil, before a single photograph has been taken at Heathrow, before anyone knows exactly when this visit will happen, the Duchess of Sussex has reportedly hired celebrity PR specialists who handle what one source described as infamous names. Let that sink in for a moment. When the crisis experts you bring on board are the same people who manage reputations for the genuinely notorious, you are telling the world something about how you view your own standing. According to multiple reports circulating through both British and American media outlets, Meghan has put together a team specifically designed to rehabilitate her image with the British public before she arrives. This is not routine media management. This is not the kind of polished press strategy that accompanies a product launch or a charity initiative. This is full-scale damage control deployed preemptively, the kind of operation you run when you know the room already hates you and you need to change that perception before you walk through the door. The question nobody seems willing to ask directly is simple. When someone requires a crisis intervention team before they even enter the room, what exactly does that tell you about the last time they were in that room? The British public watched the Oprah interview, they sat through the Netflix documentary, they read excerpts from Spare. They have receipts going back years now, a documented archive of accusations, contradictions, and carefully timed revelations that always seem to land when the Sussexes needed attention or sympathy or both. You cannot hire your way out of that kind of institutional memory. You cannot rebrand away from a trust deficit that was built one headline at a time over half a decade. A source familiar with celebrity reputation management told one outlet that the goal is straightforward. Meghan wants to be more likable to the British public again. But likability is not a commodity you purchase from consultants in a boardroom. Respect cannot be manufactured through press releases. And trust once shattered in such a spectacular and public fashion does not rebuild because you paid someone to craft better talking points. The British public can detect when something feels staged, when a campaign is overly managed, when someone is forcing a redemption arc they have not actually earned. If this visit carries even the faint scent of a coordinated image rehabilitation exercise, it will backfire spectacularly. And here is where things get particularly interesting. The timing of this announcement did not happen in isolation. It landed in the same news cycle as reports that Meghan's lifestyle brand faces what industry observers are calling an inventory crisis of staggering proportions. But we will get to that in a moment.
Harry and Meghan are in deep financial and career turmoil is being noticed at the palace. The palace is aware that Harry and Meghan are in part only doing this because they do have such PR and financial desperation.
The coincidence between Meghan's announced UK return and the state of her business is too convenient to ignore. Reports have surfaced in recent weeks suggesting that, as ever, her lifestyle brand that launched with such fanfare and celebrity endorsements is now sitting on somewhere between $5 and $10 million worth of unsold inventory. Some estimates push that figure closer to $20 million when you factor in the full retail value of products gathering dust in California warehouses. And here is the detail that transforms an embarrassing business setback into a genuine emergency. Many of those products have expiration dates, and the clock is ticking. The jam is literally expiring. Think about that phrase for a moment. The signature product that was supposed to represent Meghan's entrance into the American lifestyle market, the spreads and preserves that she promoted as the cornerstone of a new domestic brand identity. They are spoiling on warehouse shelves while she scrambles to generate enough sales to clear inventory before it becomes worthless. This is not a cash flow problem. This is not a marketing hiccup. This is the kind of existential threat that sends entrepreneurs into panic mode. The realization that your capital is rotting away, and no amount of Instagram posts featuring artfully arranged breakfast tables can stop it. The suspicious timing cannot be overlooked. Almost immediately after headlines began circulating about the planned UK return, Meghan pushed out what one commentator described as a thinly veiled commercial opportunity dressed up as lifestyle content. Her newsletter featured language about summer invitations arriving all at once, backyard dinners, impromptu gatherings on the patio, tables that grow as more friends arrive. The email encouraged readers to bring a bottle of her 2024 Sauvignon Blanc to their next soiree, and suggested her fruit spreads as thoughtful hostess gifts. She is already merching the visit. The headlines about returning to Britain had barely cooled before the sales pitch landed in subscriber inboxes. This is the pattern that has defined the Sussex approach from the beginning. Every family moment becomes content. Every personal milestone transforms into a revenue opportunity. Every crisis gets repackaged as a commercial venture. The visit to the United Kingdom is not simply a family reunion or a chance to introduce the children to their British heritage. It is, at least in part, a marketing activation designed to inject some royal-adjacent glamour into a failing product line. And if that assessment sounds cynical, consider the track record. Every time things go quiet in Montecito, there is another interview, another leak, another dramatic revelation timed perfectly to generate maximum media coverage. The drama is not accidental. The drama is the product. Royal commentator P. Dina put it bluntly in a recent analysis. Meghan is desperate. She is trying to sell expiring jam, and she will do anything and everything to move that product. When your inventory is rotting and your brand has lost momentum and your approval ratings in your target market are in the basement, a strategic return to proximity with the British royal family starts looking less like reconciliation and more like a Hail Mary commercial play. The summer hostess email was not subtle. It was exploitation dressed up in linen and soft-focus photography. But here is what the PR consultants cannot fix, no matter how many crisis meetings they convene or media strategies they develop. You cannot rebrand your way out of a trust issue that has been building for years. The contradictions are documented. The victim narratives have been cataloged. The calculated PR moves played out in real time while the world watched. This is not about a single awkward moment or an unflattering photograph or one interview that went sideways. This is about a pattern of behavior that British audiences observed, processed, and judged over the span of half a decade. The Oprah interview made specific claims that were later contradicted or walked back. The Netflix documentary presented a version of events that palace sources disputed with receipts of their own. Spare revealed private conversations and family moments in ways that many observers considered a fundamental breach of trust. Each revelation generated headlines, each headline generated controversy, and each controversy reinforced a growing perception that the Sussexes would weaponize anything, including their most intimate family relationships, if it served their public narrative. British audiences are not stupid. They possess finely tuned radar for detecting when something feels forced or manufactured or strategically convenient. They can sense when a redemption arc has been crafted in a conference room rather than earned through genuine change. If this visit registers as another image repair operation, another carefully choreographed attempt to position Meghan as a sympathetic figure returning to a family that wronged her, the backlash will be immediate and severe. Instead of looking relatable, she risks looking calculated yet again. Instead of appearing sincere, she risks appearing strategic. Instead of winning people back, she could simply remind them of every reason they stopped believing the act in the first place. The fundamental problem is that likability cannot be manufactured in a boardroom. Respect is not something you purchase through a consultant. And trust, the kind of deep institutional trust that allows public figures to recover from scandals and rebuild their standing, requires consistency, humility, and accountability over extended periods. None of those qualities have been on display from Montecito. What we have seen instead is a relentless drumbeat of grievance, a constant stream of accusations directed at the institution and the individuals still working within it, and a willingness to monetize every aspect of the royal connection, while simultaneously claiming to want nothing to do with it.
The Meghan's team may be preparing for a UK return, but the bigger question is whether the public is preparing to accept one.
If the British public gets the sense that this return is simply another PR exercise, it will make things worse rather than better. The crisis team can polish the messaging and coordinate the photo opportunities and plant favorable stories in friendly outlets. But they cannot change the underlying reality that has been years in the making. Now we arrive at what may be the most disturbing element of this entire situation, a development that royal watchers have been tracking with growing concern over recent weeks. Thomas Markle Sr., Meghan's estranged father, is no longer living with his son Thomas Markle Jr. He has returned to California. He has had a leg amputated. He requires care and support. And suddenly, his whereabouts have become unclear, his situation shrouded in the kind of uncertainty that raises uncomfortable questions. Royal commentator P. Dina, who has previously spoken directly with Thomas Markle Sr., shared a detail that puts everything into a different context. According to P. Dina, Thomas Sr. told her directly that Meghan would not speak with him as long as he remained in contact with those other children, meaning Thomas Jr. and Samantha. Think about what that means. Meghan allegedly demanded that her father choose between maintaining relationships with his other children and having any relationship with her. She required him to cut off his own family as the price of her forgiveness. If Thomas Sr. is no longer with his other kids, if he has relocated back to California in a diminished physical state requiring assistance, the door opens for a scenario that PR strategists would absolutely recognize as a massive image win. A tearful reconciliation with an estranged father, captured at just the right moment, promoted through carefully managed media channels, would generate exactly the kind of sympathetic coverage that Meghan desperately needs right now. The prodigal daughter returning to care for her ailing parent. The family rift healed through love and forgiveness. The redemption arc that transforms public perception overnight. The manipulation here is transparent to anyone paying attention. Force out the half-siblings first. Isolate the father from his other support systems. Then swoop in as the caring daughter when the cameras are ready. If Meghan shows up alongside Thomas Markle Sr. at any point during this UK visit, every observer with a functioning memory will recognize exactly what is happening. They will see the orchestration. They will identify the timing. They will understand that reconciliation purchased through ultimatums and conducted for public consumption is not reconciliation at all. It is performance. There is no genuine bone of forgiveness in someone who made her father choose between his children. That is not how people who want authentic healing behave. That is how people who want to control narratives and manage perceptions behave. The PR team can dress it up however they want. They can craft heartwarming statements and stage emotional reunions and feed exclusive access to friendly journalists. But the underlying active remains what it has always been. Every relationship is a potential asset. Every family member is a potential liability or opportunity depending on how their existence affects the brand. Thomas Markle Sr. is no longer useful as a symbol of family betrayal. He becomes useful as a symbol of reconciliation and grace. And if that analysis seems harsh, consider what we know. This is a woman who has not spoken to her father in years, who allowed him to learn about his daughter's engagement through media reports, who did not reach out when he suffered a heart attack before the wedding, who has maintained complete estrangement while he endured serious health crises, including the amputation. The pattern suggests that reconciliation will only occur when reconciliation serves her interests. Right now, with expiring inventory and cratering approval ratings and a desperate need for positive coverage, reconciliation suddenly looks very useful indeed. Palace sources who spoke to reporters from the Daily Mail described the prospect of this UK visit in stark terms. Two sources close to the Sussexes themselves, people theoretically sympathetic to Harry and Meghan's position, called the announcement of bringing the children a new low. That phrase deserves emphasis. Their own allies are describing this as a new low, as a strategy so transparent and manipulative that even supporters are distancing themselves from it. The calculation appears to be straightforward. Bring Archie and Lilibet to the United Kingdom. Put the king in a position where refusing to meet his grandchildren looks cruel and heartless. Generate media coverage framing any reluctance from the palace as rejection of innocent children. Force a meeting that can then be used for headlines, for content, for proof that the Sussexes remain connected to the royal family despite everything. One source described it as a trap. They are saying, try and ignore us when we are here with the kids. If they do not meet up with Harry and Meghan, then they can say we came to you and we were ignored. Another source put it even more directly. It is clear to me that Harry and Meghan are doing this to force their hand, so they have to give him security or else they are endangering the children. The visit coincides, not coincidentally, with an expected decision from the Home Office regarding Harry's security arrangements in Britain. The children become use. Their safety becomes a negotiating chip. Their presence transforms a family visit into a strategic gambit designed to extract concessions that have been denied through normal channels. Royal biographer Angela Levin, who has written extensively about both Harry and Queen Camilla, did not mince words in her assessment. She described the Sussexes as functioning like crooks working out how they can open doors and get in the middle of the night. She characterized Meghan as ice cold in her way of working, someone who has demonstrated repeatedly that personal relationships carry no weight against strategic considerations. The estrangement from her father, the willingness to cut off family members who do not serve her purposes, the pattern of weaponizing private information for public use, all of it suggests someone operating without the normal emotional constraints that govern family relationships. The children, who have been fiercely protected from public view since birth, who have been kept almost entirely hidden from cameras and coverage, suddenly become useful when their presence can generate pressure and attention. For years, Harry and Meghan justified their aggressive privacy stance by arguing that exposing children to media scrutiny was harmful and irresponsible. Now, those same children are reportedly being brought to the United Kingdom specifically to create a media situation that cannot be ignored. The hypocrisy is breathtaking. Inside Buckingham Palace, the reaction to these developments has been a mixture of wariness and genuine frustration. Sources describe the mood as weary, the sentiment captured in a single question: will they ever learn? But perhaps the more relevant question is whether the palace itself has learned anything from previous encounters. The king met with Harry at Clarence House late last year in what was supposed to be a private, low-key encounter. Harry immediately weaponized that meeting for headlines, providing details to favored publications about the emotional nature of the conversation, comparing the scene to something from a movie. That experience should have served as a warning. Any contact becomes content. Any private moment transforms into public narrative. Any gesture of reconciliation gets repackaged as evidence supporting whatever story the Sussexes are currently telling. Palace insiders told reporters that the king felt bounced into that previous meeting, that he did not fully anticipate how the encounter would be used. Now, with another potential meeting looming, the same active threatens to repeat itself. According to sources, no meeting with the king is currently confirmed. The Sussexes do not have access to his diary. They do not know his schedule or commitments. They are simply assuming that showing up with the children will create enough pressure to force an audience. The source added a pointed observation. He might suddenly find he is very busy then. That phrasing reveals the uncomfortable position the palace now occupies. Refusing to meet grandchildren looks bad. Agreeing to meet creates opportunities for exploitation. The king is damned if he does and damned if he does not, caught between his natural desire as a grandfather to see family and his institutional responsibilities as monarch to avoid situations that can be weaponized against the crown. Prince William's position remains unchanged and unambiguous. No meeting. No reconciliation. The red line is not moving. Sources close to the Prince of Wales have made clear that he views any engagement with Harry and Meghan as fundamentally incompatible with protecting the institution he will one day lead. He has watched his father get burned by previous attempts at accommodation. He has no intention of making the same mistakes. Even sources sympathetic to the Sussexes are calling this strategy out as desperate. When your own allies are describing your tactics as transparent manipulation, when insiders are predicting that the visit will backfire spectacularly, when the palace mood has shifted from cautious openness to protective wariness, you have already lost the narrative battle before it begins. So where does this leave us? Standing at the edge of what feels like an inevitable collision between desperation and institutional self-preservation. The harder Meghan pushes for manufactured redemption, the faster public fatigue transforms into outright rejection. The more aggressive the tactics, the more obvious the manipulation, the more certain the backlash. The as-ever brand will continue hemorrhaging money, regardless of how many royal photo opportunities materialize. No proximity to Buckingham Palace saves expiring inventory. No tearful reunion with an estranged father sells jam that has passed its shelf date. The fundamental business problem remains unsolved because the fundamental business problem was never really about marketing or branding or access. The problem is that Meghan built a company around her personality during a period when her public approval was collapsing, then proved unable or unwilling to do the actual work of developing products people wanted to buy. If she parades Thomas Markle Sr. before cameras, it confirms every criticism leveled over the past several years. It demonstrates that family relationships are transactional, that reconciliation is performative, that nothing is too personal to exploit for advantage. If she uses the children as props to force meetings and concessions, it validates concerns that Archie and Lilibet are being deployed as strategic assets rather than protected as young people with their own interests and privacy rights. The real crisis is not her image. The real crisis is that she still does not understand why no amount of PR can fix authenticity you never had. You can hire the best reputation managers in the business. You can craft the most sophisticated media strategies. You can time your revelations for maximum impact and coordinate your appearances for optimal coverage. None of it matters if the underlying foundation is hollow. People can sense when someone is performing versus when someone is genuine. British audiences in particular have developed finely calibrated instincts for detecting insincerity, honed through decades of watching public figures attempt to rehabilitate tarnished images. The ones who succeed are the ones who do the hard internal work of genuine change. The ones who fail are the ones who think the right consultants and the right talking points and the right photo opportunities can substitute for actual transformation. Meghan Markle, by every available indication, believes she has a PR problem when she actually has a character problem. She thinks the right team can fix perceptions when perceptions are accurately reflecting reality. She assumes that proximity to royalty will revive her commercial prospects when proximity to royalty is precisely what has caused so much of the damage in the first place. The prediction is straightforward. This UK return, whenever it actually happens, will accelerate rather than reverse her decline. The British public will see through the orchestration. Palace insiders will leak unflattering details. Media coverage will focus on the calculation rather than the reconciliation. And when it is over, when the visit concludes and the Sussexes return to Montecito with whatever access they manage to extract, the situation will be worse than when they started. The jam will still be expiring, the approval ratings will still be negative, and the pattern of weaponizing family relationships for commercial and reputational advantage will be even more firmly established in public consciousness. Every time things go quiet, there is another interview, another leak, another revelation. Private family conversations become Netflix content. Personal moments become podcast episodes. They have transformed the monarchy into a content mine, and every time they dig, they inflict real damage on the institution and on the people still in it. At some point, you have to ask whether the drama is accidental or whether the drama is the product. The answer has been obvious for a long time now. Sound off in the comments, and if this is your first time here, subscribe. You will want to be here for what is coming.